I reckon we just get straight into the meat and veg of the episode, the winners and losers. A lot of winners, a lot of losers this week. There was quite a few upsets, I actually reckon.
Yeah.
But who's your winner of the week, or one of your winners?
Taysom Hill. He surprisingly got the start over Jameis this week, and he easily led the Saints to a win over Falcons division rivals. He was solid through the air, nothing special, but rushed for 2 touchdowns and got them a good win. So that's really good for his career, I'd say. And he's going to remain the starter in New Orleans until Brees comes back, you'd think.
Yeah, and it's a big couple of weeks for him because this is likely going to be, it's most likely going to be Brees' last season. So who knows if Taysom keeps this up, he could all of a sudden be the guy who's going to replace Brees in New Orleans, or at least for next year. And they might see how it goes. But yeah, 100% big week for him. I was pretty skeptical. I think we both were. I think we thought it was pretty stupid that they weren't playing Jameis, but obviously Sean Payton knows more than us, so fair play to them. And yeah, I think he has a solid contract, but I was reading something about it today. There's a way he can earn more next year or something if he meets a few requirements, and then moving on from there, he can earn a lot more if he plays well over the next few weeks. So yeah, great start to his QB career in the NFL, and it'll be interesting to see how he goes this week. My first winner of the week is the Seahawks defense. They finally rocked up to a match. Kept Kyler Murray's Arizona Cardinals to just 21 points. A lot of the NFC teams have a big deficiency, and this was the Seahawks' main thing. Their defense had been pretty bad all year. And yes, Kyler's injury did help a lot. He wasn't running as much because they didn't want to risk him getting hit with his shoulder injury. But still keeping a wild card opponent, however you want to view the Cardinals, to the Seahawks to 21 points, a huge reason why they ended up winning the game. They kept Kenyon Drake to 2.6 yards per carry, and they kept DeAndre Hopkins and Christian Kirk both pretty contained, which is not the easiest task. So huge week for the Seahawks defense. All of a sudden, you could see a way that the Seahawks can win the NFC if that defense does start to fire. And moving forward, I think the Seahawks have one of the easiest schedules remaining to a playoff. So it's going to be interesting to see if their defense can keep it up. I know they don't have the toughest matchup this week against Philly, so it'll be interesting to see if they can keep a lid on Wentz in the offense there. But good signs in the Seahawks in terms of their defense.
Definitely.
Because we know they can do it on offense. So do you reckon they're a chance to win the NFC, or do you still think we haven't seen enough from them yet?
No, I'm going to say they won't win the NFC. No, I think the Packers and the Saints are clearly better still.
Yeah. Who would you take right now out of the Bucks and the Seahawks? And chuck the Rams into that, actually. Who are you taking out of those three most likely to win?
Well, little spoiler, we're about to do our NFC standings, but I've got the Rams winning that division over the Seahawks. So.
Yeah, interesting. Do you rate the Bucks or not really? Have you gone off them now?
I've got Bucks above Seahawks as well.
All right, interesting. So yeah, big couple of weeks for the Seahawks. They've got to keep working on that defense if they have any hope of doing things, but good start for them. Do you have any other winners you want to mention?
Yes, Sir Andy Dalton.
Sir, he's knighted him.
I've knighted him because he's finally delivered. He played 2 or 3 games before getting concussed, and then Ben DiNucci came in, but he looked pretty Boris in those games, and as a result, the Cowboys looked like shit. But this week, tough game against the Vikings, who have been in great form, and Dalton rocked up, got the boys over the line. I believe it was in Minnesota, not 100% sure about that, but yeah, huge win for the Cowboys, and that's very good signs for Dalton and the Cowboys going forward.
Yeah, Dallas and Washington were my winners, actually. 2 of my winners, both for the same reasons. Basically, they both had big wins over the weekend. They went from unlikely chances at winning the NFC East to both becoming genuine chances overnight, basically. Yeah, as you mentioned, Dallas upset the Vikings. They held Dalvin Cook to 4.3 yards per carry, which I thought was
Mm.
pretty impressive given what they had given up to past running offenses in over the season. And yes, Thielen and Jefferson did cause them a lot of havoc, but to keep the Vikings to 31 points, to 28 points, sorry, that they did solid there. And as you said, Dalton leading the Cowboys to scoring 31 points. That's a pretty good effort. In terms of Washington, though, they got lucky against the Bengals. The Bengals missed 2 field goals in the first half. Both hit the post, I believe, and then Burrow went down, obviously, around halftime. And then in the second half, Ryan Finley went 3 for 10, including an interception. So Washington got away with one there. They probably wouldn't have won it if Burrow didn't go down. But
Yeah.
look, at in the NFC East, you'll take what you can get at the moment. And now that puts them tied on the same level of wins as all the other teams, despite being perceivably worse. But based on the 538 algorithm, I don't know if you're aware of that website, but they have like mathematical models to predict all sorts of things. But at the moment, their NFC East percentages are Washington's at an 80% chance of winning it, Dallas 23%, Giants 25%, Eagles 35%. So very close. They're still the two outsiders, but they play each other this week, Dallas and Washington. If Dallas win, they become the favorite. And if Washington win and Seattle beat Philadelphia, which is what we'd expect, then Washington actually becomes the favorite. So huge week this match. But yeah, big week for these two teams. Obviously, with Philadelphia losing as well to the Browns, highlights how good their weeks were. So, but yeah, Dallas, they go into NFC favoritism for me personally at the moment, just with their remaining fixture. I just think, even though the Eagles probably have a more solid team, considering Dalton is the QB in Dallas, I just don't know. I back Dallas at the moment. Who do you reckon is going to win that one out of Dallas and Washington, mate?
Yeah, I think Dallas will win that one quite easily, and it's in Dallas as well.
Yeah,
So yeah, I can't
if
really.
they can stop the Vikings' run, they should be able to stop Washington's run. And then
Mm,
look, Alex Smith, he's not a bad quarterback, but
yeah,
if you're putting it down to Alex Smith having to cook to beat you, you're looking pretty good to win that. So yeah, I'd definitely go with Dallas there, and all of a sudden they're almost, well, not a lock, but they're looking very good for playoffs. But yeah, as I mentioned, Philly had a shocker once again. I think they've been in the losers section along with the Ravens more times than any other team. They lost to the Browns, only gave up one touchdown, and they still lost, which is kind of been the story of their season. Their defense has been pretty outstanding, and their offense just hasn't really been able to back that up. Wentz threw 2 interceptions. Miles Sanders had a fumble. Travis Fulgham, for the second week in a row, was the most targeted receiver, and he walked away with one catch. In terms of my votes, I know this isn't the be all and end all, but I do a top 10 for each week. And Wentz is now one of only two quarterbacks who hasn't polled at all in any week out of any quarterback with more than 6 starts. Nick Foles is the only other to do that. So at the moment, that's
good
not
company there.
really a great position to be in. I think that's because Drew Lock and Cam Newton both picked up votes for the first time over the weekend. But yeah, not good from Wency, considering you got blokes like Joe Flacco have already polled. And yeah, moving forward, they have the seventh hardest schedule in the competition, whereas Dallas have the 29th hardest and New York have the 20th hardest. So yeah, interesting. What do you stand? I was listening to a podcast. They talked about this for a little bit. Do you think they should bench Carson Wentz and give Jalen Hurts a crack?
No, yeah, I think I saw Doug Peterson say that if they did that, then it would be giving up on the season, and I completely agree with that. Like, there's still real sniffs for the playoffs. I can't really see Hurts taking them there.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Wentz definitely needs to lift though,
Yeah.
if he wants to keep his job there in the long term. Who's
Do you reckon
do
we'll
you have
see?
another winner?
Do you reckon we'll see Wentz at another team next season?
I don't know. It's a tough one. I think the Eagles have a soft spot for him because they saw what he could do in like 2017 or 18 when he was leading the
Yeah.
MVP at the halfway point of the season. But yeah, it's getting to the point now where if he hasn't really been able to take advantage of this situation this year where the rest of the division's been absolutely crap, it's kind of like, well, when's he going to step up to the plate? I think they would give him one more year, to be honest. I don't think they would pull the pin on him yet, but I think next year Jalen Hurts, like he would be a genuine chance to become the starter, like in the midpoint of the season. But do you reckon he should go somewhere else, or do you reckon?
I think it depends a bit, but I don't know
Yeah,
if
obviously it
they.
depends because if they make the playoffs, somehow win a game, then all of a sudden
Yeah,
he's a hero. So
but if they really believe in Hertz, then I could see them shipping Wentz off next season.
yeah, the thing is, like, what was the point of getting him? Like, if they
Yeah,
don't make playoffs this year, and they like, I think if they miss out on playoffs this year, I think they should give it to Hurts next year because otherwise, what was the point of wasting a second round pick on a QB if you're not going to back him in? Because yeah, but yeah, I probably agree with you. Yeah. Stick for Wentz in the short term, and then if things change, maybe look elsewhere. But
yep.
yeah, do you have another winner you want to mention?
Nah, got 2 winners, 2 losers.
All right, I've got a couple more winners to mention. So my first winner, my second, like I don't know how to say that, but my third winner, I think I'm up to now. I've got quite a few here today. Big win over the Packers. It was the Indianapolis Colts, back-to-back weeks of scoring 34 points. Their defense is still pretty solid, but they held the Packers to 28 points, which is pretty good achievement. But statistically, their pass defense isn't actually that good. It's like middle of the road, but they seem to just pull out the big plays when it matters, which is like as a defense, that's all that really matters. Jonathan Taylor finally showed something, and I think that might be due to the fact that their passing game is starting to pick it up, and that's going to cause defenses to look at the pass more, where before they were just purely running. So I reckon Taylor will have a bit more room to work with there, and hopefully could hit some form moving into the playoffs for them. And this week they've got the Titans once again. They only played them 2 weeks ago or something, but if they beat the Titans this week based on that 538 algorithm, they go up to an 85% chance of winning the division. So huge match this week, but the Colts have put themselves in a very good position of making the playoffs when seemingly it looked like 2 weeks ago that they were going to miss out. So yeah, it's been a big fortnight for the Colts, but they've got to top it off here with a win, I reckon, because if they lose here, then all of a sudden it feels like the bubbles burst a little bit. But I think they're going into this Titans match as favourite. Do you like them against the Titans or?
No, I actually think the Titans are going to win and
Mm,
consequently win the division, but Indy are the real deal. They've looked
yeah,
really good over the past month or so. And yeah, I could see them going deep into the playoffs.
yeah, it's a huge match because with the state of the AFC wildcard picture being so packed, there's so many good teams in there. You want to make sure you win the division just to confirm your spot because we've seen with the Ravens, they're now out of the picture at the moment. They're sitting in the eighth spot. So, yeah, it's pretty cutthroat in that wildcard situation. So, huge game this week, but massive win for the Colts over the Packers. And then my final two winners, I just mentioned the AFC wildcard picture. And so I'm going to mention the Cleveland Browns and the Las Vegas Raiders. Miami and Baltimore both lost, and that saw the Browns and the Raiders stocks increase hugely. The Raiders did lose, however, it was like a final minute loss to the Chiefs. So
Yeah,
it's pretty, like, if anything, their stocks probably rose, in my opinion. And the Browns won an ugly game against Philadelphia. To win a match with one TD shows that they've got a solid defense as well. The Raiders have the second easiest fixture remaining, which is also a good thing for them. And the Browns, they're up to 7 wins. And I feel like they haven't really fully clicked yet. I don't know about you, but all their wins seem to be in weird fashion. So who knows, all of a sudden, if they could find some form moving into the playoffs and they sneak into that wild card spot, they could be a dangerous side because if you're a team with 7 wins and you haven't played at your full potential yet, that's pretty frightening. And them themselves have the ninth easiest fixture this week for the rest of the season. And they've got the Jags this week. And you would expect them to win that, which would take them to 8-3. And from that point, it'd be pretty hard to see them miss the playoffs. So big winners were the Browns and the Raiders, I reckon. Um,
yep.
who were your losers, mate?
Yeah, I can't believe the Browns are 7-3. To be honest,
Yeah,
uh,
it's crazy. I don't know how they've gotten to that point, but
yeah, but obvious huge loser, and it's not his fault. But Joey Burrow
yeah,
copped a freak injury, tore pretty much every single thing in his knee. He's going to be out for minimum 12 months apparently. So some people are saying he's like going to be ready for round one, and I just don't understand how that's possible because I'm pretty sure he's going to need a minimum of 12 months if we go off how long it takes AFL players to recover from that sort of thing. But yeah, he's likely going to miss a lot of next season, and yeah, it's just really unlucky. But hopefully he can bounce back.
yeah. Usually the earliest you can come back from an ACL is like 9 months,
Yeah,
which would be round one. But
but he's
given
torn
that,
everything.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. That's a clean ACL. Where with other stuff, yeah, I don't see that happening. Yeah, the Bengals as a whole are one of my losers. Sadly, Burrow going down as you mentioned, but as we were just discussing, I don't even think he'll be back for round one next year, which
yeah,
probably means, well, we can easily put a pencil through this year and probably means we can put a pencil through next season as well, which is a sad thing to see
yeah,
as for Bengals fans. But I think this is an opportunity for the Bengals. Their offense has looked pretty good this year, but I think it's a good chance for them to look at their defense. They've got a how long have they got to the rest of the season? They've got like 5 weeks, 6 weeks to work out what is decent on their defense. And then they've got to look next year in the off season how they can improve that because they've got the offense now, they've got their star quarterback, and now they've got to start to build a decent defense to help him out because can't make him score 40 points every week to win. So I think that's probably their mission for the rest of the season. So it's not all completely doomed. But yeah, not great signs when you can pretty much put a line through 2 seasons based off one injury. So
yeah.
yeah,
And
pretty
another
sad for
thing,
the Bengals.
another extremely important thing they need to do is just build that offensive line because
Yeah,
Burrow was being sacked on average about 8 times every single week, and that has cost him a year of his career. It's
yeah,
cost him an ACL, so yeah, they need to get a better offensive line. It's
yeah,
one of the worst in
100%.
the comp.
Hundy agree with that. So yeah, not great things for the Bengals. Who's your other loser of the week? Because I've got a few, so you hit us with that one.
Yeah, another obvious one. Tom Brady had a bit of a stinker of a performance against the Rams. Rams are a very good defense, but Brady did not look good at all, and he's been copping quite a bit of criticism for his performance on social media. Our mate Curtis was absolutely abusing him, calling him a
Yeah,
bottom five quarterback in the NFL, which is a little bit harsh, but yeah, Brady will not like that at all, and I think he's going to bounce back as he always does.
yeah.
But yeah,
Uh,
he's copped the spotlight for all the bad reasons this week.
Yeah, I 100% agree. The Bucks as a whole, they're starting to look a bit shade. Like they've had a couple like blips. You can say, yeah, fair enough. It's a weird year, but all of a sudden they've had 4 or 5 bad games, and then you start to question, are they actually a good team anymore? So yeah, big couple weeks coming up. They've got the Chiefs this week, which is a huge game, in prime time. So it's going to be interesting to see how that one goes down because their primetime record absolutely sucks so far this year. I think they're like 0-4 or something. So I think they're 1-3, but the win was against the Giants. So yeah,
And they
they need to
almost lost
lift,
that.
and yeah, exactly. So Brady needs to lift. Their team as a whole needs to lift. Their running game's been pretty awful of late as well. So yeah, a lot of things in that Buccaneers team needs to improve, but it's got to start with the quarterback. And yeah, 100% agree with you there, mate. I'll start with the Ravens. Like, I don't want to harp on them too much. They've basically been in the losers section every single week, but lost a tight game to the Titans in overtime. They got Derrick Henry in the last quarter. Happens pretty much every week, and in overtime. It wasn't actually the worst performance. I think the Titans are a pretty good team, but for me, the issue is the current playoff picture. They're now out of it, and it's starting to look a little bit worrying. They don't have the toughest schedule moving forward. They play a few good sides, obviously the Steelers this week. So I still think they're a good chance of making the playoffs, but it's starting to look a bit worrying at the moment. They're in really bad form. The Titans are starting to become their bogey team almost. They just seem to not be able to get over that hurdle. But given how packed that AFC wildcard picture is, yeah, I'd be starting to get a little bit nervous if I was a Baltimore fan, because they've still got COVID issues. They've still got injury issues, especially on defense. Well, now they've got it in offense as well with the running back situation this week. So yeah, bit worrying for the Ravens. Like, I don't think they're out of it at all. I think they're still likely to make it, but yeah, they need to turn the tide very quickly. Otherwise, that AFC wildcard picture might get a little bit too crowded for them. So yeah, worrying signs there. My second last one is the Packers. I know you're a big fan of the Packers, so you probably won't like them being here, but they lost a big game to the Colts, and they've only played 2 teams with positive records at the time, and the Colts were one of them, and the Buccaneers were the other. So they've had a very soft draw. They have the lowest strength of victory of any NFC team with more than 4 wins. So it's fair to say they've been bloody loved by the NFL fixturing department. But yeah, easiest strength of schedule in the NFC all season, and they are only 7-3. So look, I don't think they're a bad team at all. It's more just a concern of whether they're going to be able to do it in the playoffs, given how light their regular season fixture has been. They've basically won the NFC North, but in the grand scheme of things, this loss was pretty big, in my opinion. I'm just getting a bit worried about the Packers now. There is no clear standout in the NFC, which is in their favour, but yeah, they keep having slip-ups in the big games that we want to see something that makes us think they're solid candidates to win the NFC, and they did not provide that for us this week. But there's actually quite a few good games this week, and they are in one of them, the Bears. It's probably not going to be the most attractive game to watch, but it'll be interesting to see how they go up against one of the other biggest defenses in the competition after losing to both the Bucs and the Colts. So it'll be a good test for Rodgers and his men. Finally, the Dolphins are my final loser. They've now actually, we'll get to this in a bit, but a little bit of a sneak preview. They've exited my playoff picture, after their loss to the Broncos. Tua was obviously benched for Fitzy. It's been talked about a lot. It was part injury though, but I also do believe it was part performance. And Fitzy actually outperformed Tua as soon as he got in. So they're starting Tua again. I'm not saying they're going to bench him this week or anything, but questions probably got to be asked. I actually reckon right now Fitzy's the better man for the job, but I know they're kind of looking ahead at the future as well. But yeah, the Broncos held them to 13 points. They are a good defense, but that's not really good enough for a team vying for a division title win. The Broncos defensive line absolutely killed the Dolphins O-line. The Dolphins QBs got sacked 6 times, and on the ground they only went 3.3 yards per carry. So worrying signs for that Dolphins offense. It just was not moving at all. And I was having a little look at their results, and they actually have the lowest strength of victory in the AFC of any team with more than 4 wins. But going forward, they have the easiest fixture remaining, but as I keep mentioning, that AFC wildcard picture is absolutely stacked. So with the way that offense is performing at the moment, I think the defense kind of sugar-coated their last couple of weeks with a few touchdowns and special teams as well. But yeah, now as soon as they don't put a score up, then we see that this offense really isn't functioning that well. Big game this week though against the Jets. This is got to be a huge bounce back game for Tua. I reckon he's in for a big one. But yeah, I'm starting to get a little bit worried about the Dolphins after being pretty high on them of late. But yeah, that's all I've got for my losers. Before we get into the next one, just a reminder to feel free to get around the potty. I forgot to mention it earlier. I should have said it earlier, but oh well. If you're still listening, feel free to subscribe, or if you're on Spotify or podcasts, feel free to review the potty. Would be greatly appreciated. All right.
It's a miracle! Oh yeah! What about that one? Unbelievable! Balotelli, Aguero! Crowd cheers. Here's Siddle.